Okay, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strimzi Community Call on Thursday, the 22nd of January. I've shared the link, if anyone doesn't have it, to these notes. Hopefully, you can all see my screen. I've started the recording. So, in the regular agenda, I guess first we have an announcement. Did you want to announce this, Jakob? As I think it was you that did the release.
Yeah, it's just to have it on the record that Strimzi 050 is out. So yeah, if you are a Strimzi user, it's time to start considering your upgrade plans.
Yes. Cool. And then was this next one added by you as well?
Everything was added by me.
I did wonder if it was.
I noticed when preparing the 050 release that we now support quite old Kubernetes versions, and I wondered if it's time to cut it down a bit. Unfortunately, when I raised it on Slack, only Lukash reacted there, nobody else. So we didn't do any warnings in 050, but I think we should kind of drop Kubernetes 1.27, 28, and 29. The question is normally we first give users a warning in one release that's the last release supporting them, and then we drop it in the next release. But obviously we didn't edit it to 050. So should we drop these old Kubernetes versions in 051, or should we just do a warning in 051 and then drop them in 1.0? Or that's probably something to discuss and decide.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy for us to drop them. Sorry, I didn't see the Slack discussion. I wonder if we could kind of do half and half, so drop one or two of the older ones in the next one without giving a warning because they're quite old, and then perhaps for the ones that aren't, so like for 129 and I don't know which way we go with 128, but um
They are
yeah,
all very old.
yeah. I
Keep
was
in mind that
thinking,
the current version is 1.35,
yeah,
and these versions are basically 3 years old almost, so they are long out of support by Kubernetes itself.
yeah. I mean, I feel like as long as we give users warning, because yeah, I feel like it's fine for us to drop it without giving them like a specific release where we add the warning, because I guess they can do their Kubernetes upgrade before they then upgrade Strimzi, given that they are so old. So I would be in favor of us dropping them without dragging our heels too much. But I don't know what the other maintainers think.
Yeah, like as I mentioned in the discussion on Slack, I think that we should drop them in 051 and maybe have some warning now in the Slack or somewhere else to just notify the users even after the release of 050. But I would not wait any more releases, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So all of them should be dropped in 051, all the three I mentioned there.
Yep.
Sounds like everyone's in agreement.
Okay, sounds good. Then I will open a PR for that. Thanks.
Cool. Do you want to move on to the next item, which I guess was also added by you?
Yeah, so that's just a reminder for the maintainers. Then when merging PRs, you have to follow the government's rules. So every PR, in order to be merged, needs to have approval from at least two maintainers. Or if the PR affects only a single component, as we call it, it can be one maintainer and one component owner. And the author of the PR in a way counts as a reviewer as well. So if the author is a maintainer, then yeah, for example, you need only one additional maintainer approval. But you should not merge a PR which is from a non-maintainer, not non-component owner for given stuff and has only one approval. This is really important to follow the rules because yeah, they ensure the consistency
Yeah.
of the project. So
I
just a reminder.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know whether there's a specific example, and I don't want you to call anybody out if there is, but for all of our branches and repos, we should have it set, shouldn't we? So that if you don't have the required number, there's like a big red button,
No,
isn't it? You have to
no,
tick to
it's
say I
it's
bypass,
not
or is it
there
not?
because of the second point.
Okay.
So in basically you can't say GitHub doesn't support out of the box rule which is that complicated and counts the
Right.
author as the reviewer. So you can, if I remember it correctly, you can in theory say that you need to have two maintainer approvals before you can merge
Yeah.
it, but
Hmm.
then the author would not count as the approval, or maybe the author would need to kind of approve it, but that would sound a bit strange. So, like,
Yes.
ideally, we want to avoid setting that rule, but that requires the people to actually be careful about what they are doing and always check that the things are correct before merging it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So that's probably a good reminder for people that even if you it looks like it's all ready to be merged and you're not force merging it, you just need to double check that whether the author is a maintainer or not. Cool.
Yeah, correct.
That's a
Out
good
of
reminder.
curiosity, would it make sense to have some kind of check as we have for the milestones that there are these kind of required number of approvals plus the author is maintainer as well? I guess it
Do you
would
have
be possible to.
do you have such a check?
Yeah, I guess the
No,
question
but
is
I
whether
can
it's
have a look.
possible to do that, Lukash. I think Jakob was saying he doesn't think it is. So we have a check that makes sure you have at least one maintainer or component owner has reviewed it, but we don't have a check that,
So yeah, the checks are complicated, right? Because you need to somehow understand the component owners. You
yeah,
need to understand who's maintainer. You need to run the check somewhere to be able to react to the PRs. You need to make sure that the check is reacting to all the right events on the PRs and so on. So I don't think it's that simple to implement, and I'm not sure there's something out there fitting our policy. Then there's another reason why maybe not do that. It's a bit annoying if the PR looks like it's not, if like the milestone check, if you don't set it, it basically you cannot easily see whether the PR is still running tests or just waiting for the flag and so on. So like I don't think that's necessarily great experience either.
Yeah,
I
cool.
But
think it's
yeah,
possible
I
to
can
if you
look
want to
into
do.
it.
write something like that, then yeah, go
Go on.
for it.
Okay, thanks.
cool. Moving on then, we've got a thing here for GitHub Actions. Was it other Jakob that added that?
Yes, basically just a highlight. The migration is in progress. Currently, the operators repository and drain cleaner were already released by GitHub Actions. So basically, we can think about when we will remove the Azure pipelines from these repositories and also from the other repositories. I think it might be a little bit quicker, for example, in test clients, because the release process there is a little bit simpler than for operators. But in some comment, I think I wrote that we can probably do like two releases, and in case there will be no troubles with GitHub Actions, we can safely drop Azure pipeline. So it means that for operators, we will do 0.51, and then we can probably remove Azure pipelines. And
We
basically,
are
we can follow the same rule for the
we
rest.
are
Yeah.
bound by the 0.45 on operators, Jakub.
Yes. This means we will not remove it from all the branches, right? We will keep it. However, we will just
You
remove it from the main branch. And I don't mean that we will remove the Azure pipelines completely as an integration, but just remove the code from main branch.
I think it's good to be careful about it because the Azure has some weird relationship from where the pipelines were created. And I'm not 100% sure you can just delete it from the main branch and use it in the release branch.
I can double check that to see if it will work or not, to be careful. Okay. So I will check that, and then we can decide how we will proceed. Sounds good?
Apart from that, we already had multiple GitHub Actions releases on operators. So if you can remove it without breaking the 0.45 release branch, then yeah, I don't think you have to wait for 0.51.
Okay. I think maybe a little bit complicated could be with CV release pipeline. So I forgot to properly configure CV validation environment on GitHub Actions. However, it should be fixed now, and it will be great to have CV release to check that. But I think we'll get one sooner or later.
Or you can try to do one for 0.49.1. There
Yeah.
might be some CVs in the base images.
Okay.
Or I mean, technically you can try to do one for 0.50 as well. I think there's like one high severity fixable already again.
Yeah, and basically it will be just a rebuild of the images and putting the suffix to it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, that's probably all about this. I'm continuing with implementing GitHub Actions for the rest of the repositories we have in Strimzi organization. So slowly, it's moving forward.
Cool. Thanks. And yeah, and I think you'd already shared on Slack, but for any of the maintainers who are likely to do releases of particular components, it's worth having a look at the changes so you'll kind of have some prior warning before your next release so you know vaguely what you're doing. Cool. We don't have any PRs or issues listed. So this is your chance. Does anyone want to bring anything up? No. We don't have any proposals listed either. I think we've got some open. We've got 8 PRs open. So I guess if people haven't reviewed, I'm definitely one of those people who needs to review some of these, but there are proposals open, but it sounds like there's none that particularly need discussing today.
Kate, sorry, regarding proposal, I would like just to mention to hold on my proposal about dynamic quorum and controller scaling, because after some feedback from Jakub, I'm doing some investigation, and instead of wasting your time, maybe to review a proposal which is going to change in some parts or a lot, in several parts, it's better to save some time.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I'll hold off on that one. And I guess on that note, I think the stretch cluster one, I chatted to one of the people developing that, and they're making some changes as well. So I think that one's a very long one, which we're hoping to get them to reformat to read better as well. So if you haven't reviewed that one, then hold off until they've made whatever changes or whatever. Cool. Let's go on to issues triage then. So first one on my page is unique ID for Grafana dashboards. So this one, as far as I understand it, is around being able to have a specific unique identifier field in the Grafana dashboards, which is something we currently don't have. And there's been some discussion on the thread about it not being there because these are examples. And I saw that one of the last comments was from someone, one of the users was around it being clearer that this was an example. I think in our main YAML files, obviously the Grafana dashboards are under examples. I guess in the Helm charts, they're not specifically under a folder called examples, so maybe there's more confusion. Yeah, I don't know what people's thoughts are on.
To be honest, I don't buy it's an example thing, because what do we really expect the people to do with these dashboards?
Yeah.
Do we really expect every Strimzi user to go through that and copy some chunks of the JSON into their own dashboard? I think we all know that that's not how it works. So in one way, yes, it's an example, but I don't think that should necessarily set the expectation that they are not used by anyone and that people
Yeah.
only kind of copy from there. So if the UID should be there, we should probably add it there. But
Yeah,
to
I
be
know.
honest, I don't know how the UID in the Grafana dashboard should work. Should it change with every change to the dashboard? Should it be always the same? Should it be, I don't know.
I have no idea either. Also wasn't sure whether it's something that we should be generating for the static files or whether from a Helm perspective it would generate when you install the Helm chart. I don't know.
No, I think if it should be there, it should be probably there already in the examples folder.
It seems like there's at least three different people who are keen for this.
So I think the why they are raising the Helm chart is because the Helm chart gives you an automatic way how to load the dashboard,
Hmm.
right? Whereas I'm not using the Helm chart, I'm loading the dashboards manually into my Grafana. And when you do that, it normally gives you kind of an error that the UID is not set there and you set it manually. So like you maybe care about it less than when it's expected to load automatically from the Helm
Right.
chart and then it fails because of the UID. But then I guess that's if my expectation would be that the UID should be somehow unique and stable. So you probably cannot generate it in the Helm chart. You have to set it in the so that it doesn't kind of the Helm chart doesn't change the UID every time it
Mm.
installs. But you need to set it in the examples already. But yeah, I'm not sure if we just kind of randomly generate it and set it or what problems might it cause to someone else. It's just a dashboard, so I guess I personally am fine if someone wants to add the UIDs to the dashboard. And fingers crossed nobody will come crying after we release that's wrong. I don't know what others think.
Yeah, to be honest, I do the same as you, just loading the dashboards manually. I don't remember I get an error. I remember that it just generates a new ID for me when it loads the Grafana dashboard. But I can see that that's most a problem for the uncharts because it's going through, yeah, it's inside the unchart itself and loading in a different way. Yeah, so I'm fine adding the UID, and as you said, we should pray that we are not going to break anything else.
So AI says that the UID should be a stable unique identifier in the chart.
And should it
So
be updated when the chart YAML changes?
it's AI, so who knows? But the way I read stable unique identifier is that it does not change and it should kind of identify the specific dashboard. So I would take it as that it should not change. And then the dashboard should have something called numeric ID, which should be some auto incrementing value. So maybe that kind of suggests some dashboard changes or something.
Is there anyone that wants to volunteer to do this? Do we say help
I think it's
wanted? We're happy for people to contribute this.
I think it's a nice thing for the people asking for it to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
agree.
I don't mind if someone else wants to do it from people on the call, but like in general, I would say there seem to be people who want this, so they should do it. And it doesn't like they might need to figure out how to run the make dashboard install and so on, but apart from that, it's not like this requires some special Java skills and some deep knowledge
Yeah.
of the Java code.
Okay. So like this.
Jakub, what do you think about it? Seems like you were the one against it.
Well, to be honest, it's quite a long time for me. And I never used it from Helm chart, so I'm not sure. I can take a look again.
Do you remember what the reason for this sentence was? If we hard code it, it could easily break things. Was there specific things you were concerned about breaking, or?
I remember that when I did some changes in the dashboard and reloaded it automatically via GitOps, there were some clash in loading the config map that contains the dashboard into Grafana instance, and it didn't update the dashboard itself in Grafana. However, this could be a problem of Grafana operator because I use Grafana operator for that. So I really don't remember.
Well, I guess if we have a pull request, then the maintainers could check it in their own. However, anybody loads their own Grafana dashboards, everyone could have a go and see if it breaks. And if none of the maintainers find it breaks for them, then we could go ahead.
Yeah,
Sounds like we have a range of ways that people load them. Happy? Shall we move on?
fine by me.
I'm going to add help wanted then. And that's not what I wanted to do. That's unhelpful.
You need to remove the needs triage as well.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, but I accidentally clicked the label. There we go. There, right. Next one, Strimzi operator reconcile loop is indefinitely stuck. So this is the one specifically related to the message that's coming back from Connect, which has a timestamp in it. And the last point we left off, we triaged it at some point. And we decided that we weren't going to fix this ourselves, but that I guess we weren't going to close it because,
I think people wanted more time to
yeah.
think about it.
Well, I think we'd left it open. We haven't heard back from anybody. Do we want to just remove the needs triage and say we're not planning on working on this soon, but if somebody wants to come up with a proposal, we can?
So how would the proposal look like?
Well, presumably
Like, what do you expect the proposal to say?
to say we are intending to address this by changing the message or giving an option to change the message, or it sounds like we're not getting consensus, and I feel like proposals is where you get consensus. So if a user really wants this, they could propose this is the change that I want to make that fixes it for me, and then it kind of forces people to either go, yes, I agree, or no, I don't agree.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be a way to get consensus. It could be also a way how to waste someone's time writing proposal and trying to figure it out just to get it never approved.
But otherwise, we're left with an issue that's just sitting around.
Yeah, so I think we should kind of, if we want to keep it open, it probably should be that we are willing to have the code change regardless whether we do it or someone contributes it, that we are willing to change the code and get there just some nothing saying HTTP 500 error. Because I guess that's the only solution, right?
Yeah.
So if we agree on that, then I'm not sure if we need proposal, but then it's fine to leave it open and have someone write the proposal if needed. But if we don't agree on that, then isn't keeping it open and having someone write a proposal just wasting someone's time?
So what if I had a message here saying we've triaged it and that basically we don't intend to fix this. However, if people feel very strongly that they want this fixed, then please comment on this issue. And if we get enough people commenting, then we can revisit it. Because that's basically what we've said in this discussion, right? It just seems silly to keep triaging it in the triage meeting and no community members come
Yeah,
back.
so we are going to close it.
Yeah, I guess people can comment on the closed issue, can't they?
Yeah, okay. It sounds fine with me.
Does anyone disagree with that? Okay, I'm going to take silence as no. Okay, Zoom's put something at the top. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to add a comment then to say that we've triaged it again. Um, what did we set here? The tree box. Like that.
Yeah.
Next, this one I think is a close as duplicate because nobody said anything else.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Okay. This one I did finally have a chance to look at, and I have responded to your comment, Jakob, but I like an hour ago. So I'm happy to just skip this one and we can have discussion um, once you've had a look, if that's what
Yeah,
you
I'm
prefer.
not
I
sure.
presume
I'm
you
not sure
haven't.
I really understood what you meant there, to be honest.
Well, maybe it's good to discuss then. So basically, so my understanding of so this issue is around somebody requesting sort of somewhat tighter restrictions on when you create a Kafka Access resource, you're obviously referencing specific credentials, and someone's asking about being able to restrict it to say, actually, you can only get access to specific users. So if I have 5 users, if there's only one of them that I'm going to be exposing to a particular namespace or whatever. And so there was been a bit of discussion about exactly how that could work, and there was talk of this reference grant and whether we would use that. And you'd added a comment, Jakob, and my understanding of your comment was kind of talking about Kafka Access Operator is designed as pull-based from the point of view of a user creates a Kafka Access resource, and then the operator goes and fetches the credentials and puts them in a secret that's next to where the Kafka Access is. And in your comment, you talked about having a push base where you would have the access operator running alongside where the Kafka users and the Kafka clusters are. And then you provide some sort of annotation on the Kafka or the Kafka user, which then means that it projects the other way. And I guess what I was wondering was we could we actually do that with the access operator today? Because today you create a Kafka access CR, and then that's what triggers creating the secret. So there's 2 things. One is at the moment we always create the secret next to the Kafka access, but we could change that and look at creating the secret somewhere different to the Kafka access. And separately, we could look into whether the access operator could react to annotations on the resources as opposed to its own personal resource. So in both of those scenarios, if you did one or both of those things, I feel like that gets closer to what you were talking about. And I think you would be able to do it fairly straightforwardly with the way the access operator is built today. But if it aligns with if my understanding is right, then what I was saying is I could go have a look and see.
So I think that in
Right.
general works and fulfills the purpose, at least it seems so.
Hmm.
But like the question is whether it's efficient to do it that way, because I think that would add quite a lot of complexity, quite a lot of testing, just to kind of let it do things many different ways and so on.
Yeah, I think the minimal change would be the access operator being able to push something into a namespace that it's not that the access CR isn't in. And if you extended that to remote Kubernetes clusters, you could also do that.
Yeah, but it's not that simple, right? Because like so to achieve what I called push-based mechanism,
Yeah.
you would need to basically install the access operator next to the cluster operator,
Hmm.
have it watch the namespace where the Kafka user resources are created, or
Hmm.
basically where the cluster lives, have the users create the Kafka access custom resources in that namespace,
Yeah.
and have them kind of specify where the secret should be placed.
Hmm.
And especially when you bring multi-cluster into it, I think it starts getting quite complicated because in the kind of pool-based model, you have the remote functionality is possibly that I guess you go from many source clusters to a single target cluster. So many clusters where the Kafka users live to one cluster where the secret is created and where the Kafka access resource lives. And you go from that to a single source cluster to many target clusters. So also that, I guess, is a big change to the configuration. Because, yeah, you need to kind of maintain those things, test those things, and so on.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Like
obviously we don't have.
I think it works and it gives us the flexibility, but like my concern is whether a project which exists for years and had 2 releases, whether we have really the resources to manage that complexity.
I mean, obviously we don't have the remote support right now, regardless. I
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, without the remote support for me, that it's yeah, there are other tools which can do the same anyway. So
but there are clearly people who are making use of this enough to request improvements. So there's something that the other tools aren't providing. I think the key thing that this provides is basically it's the custom understanding of where the things live within the Strimzi resources and bringing them all together into one place. That's rather than the user having to use an existing tool and configure the existing tool to fetch all the things from the right places. It kind of gives them a one way to do that. Okay, well, yeah. So I think we could look at the change of namespace, and we'll see whether I can ask the user. Um, I guess, yeah, I tagged you, but I could also tag the user to see what they think, and then maybe we circle back on this. And I
okay,
guess any of the other maintainers, feel free to have a look. Yeah, okay. Okay, add performance pipelines to GitHub Actions. I think we looked at this briefly last time, but Jakob wasn't here, if I remember correctly. So it looks like this is partially resolved. Was there something else you thought was needed here, Jakob?
I think the only missing part is the trigger part that will react to changes in topic operator and user operator. However, I'm not sure if we really want that because it will mess up the triggers in a system test pipeline, I think, or it will for sure make them much more
we are
complicated than.
Jakub, we are not
Yeah.
running any other system tests automatically. So why should we run this automatically?
Yes, that's the thing I am going to say. So probably we should close it as we already have it done because you can trigger the performance pipelines through the command and it should be fine.
Oh, I'll close it as done then. Lost my text. Hmm. Oh, this one I'm going to skip because I need to follow up on that one still. Okay, Kafka rebalance execute is not the same that you approved. So there's been some discussion on this one about requesting a proposal and then approving it, and it seems like it's doing something different. And there's been some discussion about why. Is it that there's a lot of change within the cluster or what's going on? I think the latest update I saw from Carl was around that we should at least document the behavior to make it clear to the user why this could be happening. Who have we got on the call from cruise control? We don't have Kyle, but we do have Paolo. I don't know what your thoughts are. Or if anyone has thoughts on this.
So actually, this is the way how not Kubernetes, sorry, cruise control works.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure that other than what Kyle is suggesting can be done here.
Well, I think we can consider whether the approval process shouldn't be scrapped, right?
Shouldn't be, sorry?
Scrapped, removed. Because I mean, I get it that we probably cannot do anything about this, but if if what happens is actually something else than what you approve, then why the hell is the approval there?
Can you currently apply an annotation or something to auto approve it?
Yes.
You can write, but you save the code base, you save time on various testing and so on by removing the approval if it's useless.
Because I wonder if it would be useful for users to have like I guess the opposite of the approval process, but like a dry run option, but I guess at the moment the problem is the dry run is the default.
The dry run increase control is actually the ask for a proposal. That's the dry
Yeah.
run. So
Yeah.
when you hit the rebalancing endpoint, you are providing this dry run through. This is what it's providing you, a proposal. But yeah, it can happen. In this case, it was because this high traffic here and everything seems to be changing in a very short time frame. And yeah, you got a different actual rebalancing. I'm not sure if people are happy that you just ask for a rebalance and it will run without giving you any clues about of what's going to happen, even if what's going to happen is different from what's proposed.
I think I don't feel like there's a strong need to get rid of the approval
Approval.
process as long as we're making it clear in the documentation that this is the way it works. Because I think even though it might be slightly different, I think people do like the option to kind of check vaguely what's going to happen before they do it, even if it's not 100% accurate. And I think the majority of the time it's not like this far apart from like I think this is an extreme example, right? Most of the time what it comes back with is roughly what it then actually does.
So I'm happy with if you want to only document it, but the reality is that the documentation doesn't work as you think it works, right? The process is the documentation, and when the process is that you get a proposal, that's clear from the state proposal, waiting for proposal or pending proposal, and then proposal ready. And when you approve it by the approve annotation, then that again clearly suggests that you are approving the proposal and not something else. So, like, I'm fine if you want to just document it, but I don't think it like solves the broken process, right? So I don't think it kind of cuts it because most people will in the first place see the states and annotations and not the documentation.
I mean, I guess the the way you would flip it, if you were doing it from scratch now and introducing Kafka rebalance for the first time, potentially what you would do is auto approve unless there's an annotation that says dry run. So you could flip the behavior like that, but it's obviously quite a big change. So it
You even don't have to necessarily flip the behavior. You can also just name things differently, right? If you had the states like pending dry run and dry run executed, and then whatever continue with real rebalance and so on, then even without changing the default, that gives the users kind of completely different impression of what the process actually does, right? Because if it's dry run and then the actual run, then yeah, maybe it's kind of something you much easily understand that they are not necessarily the same. Whereas with proposal and approving proposal, that the words have the idea of that you get what you approved kind of baked in. So I'm happy to kind of close this issue with documentation will be updated, but I think this is something to to think about how to change it and how to improve it.
I mean, in the same way that we've improved the Mirror Maker CR, now that we kind of have a better understanding of how people use it, I'm open to us discussing, are there changes we can make that make it like more clear to people who haven't used it before.
So taking the Strimzi operator out of the picture, I mean, this is how cruise control works, right? Maybe, yeah, proposal, I could agree that proposal is not the right naming. Dry run was the right naming, but we are just mirroring what cruise control, how cruise control is used by having a Kafka rebalance custom resource and using the rebalancing or the dry run proposal. So yes, if we could change the naming somehow, but we have to deal with the impact of maybe some breaking changes, maybe it could be helpful to have users understanding the process instead of documenting. But again, I would not remove this two steps process of a user just doing a rebalancing. Maybe all users want to do a dry run first and then running the actual rebalancing.
Right, but you can still consider renaming the things, right? For example.
Yeah, we can think about renaming the things. I agree.
We can do it as part of V1 API. It's a good opportunity for that, I think.
No, that ship sailed.
Yeah.
Already? Okay.
So basically, everything that wasn't done in the V1 API cannot be done anymore because the V1 API was already released. So we can't kind of remove the old states and so on. What we can obviously do is we can add the new states there, add new annotations, for example, and then we can use a feature gate to kind of transition over multiple releases from the old states and old annotations to the new states and new annotations if someone has some automation tied to it and so on, or something like that. But like we can't remove things from the V1 API anymore.
Yeah, I was trying to remember where we say proposal, but one of the things is, for example, the state which is pending proposal, and that's something that it's going to change.
Yeah, but you can add actually the state is not part of the API, right? So anyway, like that's something I think you can change. It's I guess slightly breaking after 1.0 release, but so it's not completely nice, but like we don't want to be stuck with this forever, I guess. So it's still something what should be at least considered.
So does this reflect what we've discussed? And then I'll add a tag for needs proposal, I guess.
So I think you can also easily kind of split it, right? So we can use this issue to fix the documentation as a quick fix, and then open a new issue to kind of consider the wider implications. Because yeah, if you say that it needs a proposal and so on, then that's not something what you can fix quickly.
Yeah. Cool.
You can assign this one to me if that helps, Kate.
Perfect.
So at the moment we'll be setting expectations in the docs, and then there might be some further changes to the functionality later. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So I'll create a separate issue to track the discussion about naming changes. And I will assign you, Paul, to this one, which is just to make sure that our documentation today is clear on what's happening.
With some careful wording. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Background deletion propagation when Strimzi is rolling pods. So this is an issue that's been raised before. It's been raised mostly in regard to Cilium, but I think apparently there are other infrastructures, I guess, that have this problem, which is at the moment we're doing foreground deletion propagation.
Nobody else reported this problem.
No.
It's only Cilium who reported this problem. So if I play the role of this of this user who commented there. Out of the 1,000 users we have, only very few Cilium users actually see some issue.
Okay.
This issue let me even wonder how the stretch cluster thing is working in this regard, because it seems they are using Cilium, right?
Yeah, we could ask them
Yeah.
if they have this problem. Although I'm not sure that they are doing any testing on deletes, because the stretch cluster proposal doesn't have very much details around the deletion strategy. So that could be why.
Maybe they don't know yet that it's going to happen.
I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? It's not about doing some special testing.
Yeah.
Well, no, but you know, if you only bring up a cluster and then shut it completely down and you never do rolling updates or anything, then you wouldn't see an issue, presumably.
I'm sorry, but if you haven't done a rolling update and you are insisting that you have fully working code, which is production proven and so on, then you are lying.
Well, proposal's not approved, so we don't know. Anyway, that's a separate problem.
That's not related. What I wanted to add is that there are actually other issues Cilium is having as well.
Oh, in general for being able to work, you mean, with Strimzi?
Yeah, there's, for example, issue that we update the network policies too early before trying to do the manual rolling update of the pod, and Cilium decides that when you update the network policies, it disconnects everything and starts rewiring things again. So that doesn't work either. So
well, so for this specifically, I did a bunch of digging. And as far as I can see, the reason we're using foreground is I think because Fabricate was using foreground as their default. Because it seems like the line of code where it says use foreground was added by us in this PR to bump the dependency in the, which one is it? Resource operator or something. Let me see if I can find it. Here. So when we upgraded to Fabricate version 4.10, we originally were just using operation cascading delete, passing in whether it should be cascading, whereas then we changed it to explicitly do foreground deletion, and it looks like in Fabricate they had users complaining of some sort of issues to do with foreground deletion, and they just said, well, we're just gonna make it background by default. So
I don't think that code you highlighted changed that.
Well, so no, my point was I think Fabricate was doing foreground deletion by default, and in version 4.10 they changed it to background deletion by default, which is why we had to change our code to explicitly request foreground deletion.
But the line on the code on the line 336 does not use the default from Fabricate. It's using the value of the cascading flag. So I think this, to me, this just adjusts to the change in the Fabricate DSL, where instead of having the cascading with the Boolean, it changed it to the with propagation policy, which is set based on the cascading state. But what controls whether it was foreground or not is the cascading flag.
So you're saying it was just a change in the API, I mean.
That's my read of this code, yes.
But Fabricate certainly added a commit to change their propagation policy to background by default.
Yeah, but we are not using the default policy in the old code.
We're not using the default policy here, but we presumably were.
No, because the cascading,
yeah,
on that line, the cascading which was removed, that's configuring the propagation policy.
Oh, you mean when it was true, it was foreground, when it was background, or vice versa?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's just change in the DSL. It used to be cascading with the Boolean parameter, and now it's with propagation policy, which takes the enum. But otherwise, the underlying implementation of these two is the same.
So on line 336, to use the default from Fabricate, you should just remove the cascading call.
Yeah.
if you remove the cascading call, it's calling fabricate with the default.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I guess my point was it looks like Fabricate did see other people having this issue and saying that they wanted background as the default. I couldn't find, I mean, so I could go further back from this commit to see if I can find when we decided to do foreground. But I couldn't find any of the issues that we've had with foreground propagation.
I found the
background
commit.
propagation.
I found a commit in one of the previous issues.
Yeah,
I think it was Paolo who changed it.
I
And
looked through this issue, but that one I don't think had a reference to it. Do you have the issue or
no,
not?
I don't remember where it was, but I digged through it. I
Yeah.
think it was done by Paolo, but it was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and the PR did not had any. The PR basically said like, we are changing this to the foreground deletions to address problems and nothing more. And obviously, I don't blame Paolo if he now says that he absolutely doesn't remember doing that and doesn't remember why it was done. I think nobody would remember that. But that's what I digged out somewhere some time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't blame me that I don't remember, but you can blame me that I didn't add any useful comments to the PR. It's weird, right?
Yeah, but I mean the reality, yes, the PR was stupid because we didn't have a good description. But again, that's like the likely, I don't remember that exactly, but the likelihood is that I approved the PR with that description, and I doubt it had full description with all the details. I approved it, and then you went back and changed it, right? So, like, yeah, the lessons learned is that when reviewing the PRs, it's important to review the description as well. And when opening a PR, it's important to write a proper description, however obvious it seems to be. But I don't want to put that as your blame because, yeah, I think that's the role of the reviewer as well, and so on. So
yeah. Anyway,
So
I will
what do we
try
need
to
to do with
find
this?
the PR because I know that it's from me, so I can go through my PRs and see if there is anything. No, because
and
now I'm really curious about what I wrote.
Also keep in mind that that's not necessarily about a stateful set operator because that has just the flag which controls it, right? I think it was about the place which calls that, which changed the flag which was used there.
Yeah, well, so you can, I guess, look earlier than 2020, Paolo. But in terms of what's calling um through, we seem to, I had a little look at, because currently we obviously are still determining based on whether true or false is being passed to as a cascading, and it's a variety. Most of the time it's true, and then sometimes it's false. So we're not doing it the same way everywhere. So what do we want to do today? Do we want to say we're happy for somebody to contribute this? If they want to, they need to do it in a feature flagged way and we can roll it out slowly, but none of the maintainers is likely going to find time for this. So if the users care that deeply, then they need to do it.
So my personal view is that, yeah, I'm happy to try and see if it works for everyone, but it should be done through the feature flag.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I would have done it, but I feel like the last user commenting there was a jerk, so I'm not going to do it.
Paolo, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Um, full. So in that case, I'm going to remove the needs triage and add help wanted. Cool, and then I think we are out of time. Was there any other business?
How many issues do we have left for triage?
I can see 17. Should we have an ad hoc issues triage?
Yeah, almost sounds like that would be useful.
Okay, well, we can organize that via the Slack, can't we? Cool. Thank you everyone for attending, and speak to you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.